Kale stepped off the transport platform, taking his first real breath of academy air. The building stretched high into the sky, crystalline towers glinting under the twin suns of Viola Station. Around him, students of all shapes and sizes moved briskly. Some had 6 arms, some glimmered faintly with bioluminescence, and others had long, coiling tails. Every one of them was clearly from a different world, but all shared the same purpose. They were here to learn the art of healing. Kale was human, from a planet the other students often whispered about in hushed tones, a death world harsh, unforgiving, where survival was earned through grit and instinct. To these alien students, he must have seemed small, even fragile. He could hear the whispers already. "He's just a human," someone said. "What can he teach us?" He had seen injuries no advanced alien technology had prepared him for on his homeworld, and he carried that experience with quiet confidence. The orientation hall buzzed with voices in dozens of languages, though a universal translator hummed softly in the background, making the cacophony understandable. Kale found a spot near the back and observed his fellow students. Some were tall and regal, others small and precise, their movements as controlled as if they were designed for surgery itself. The first lecture was given by Professor Trellick, a multi-limbed healer from the planet Cyphora. Trellick's voice was smooth and commanding. "Today, we begin with basic trauma response. Remember, precision and adherence to protocol save lives. No improvisation." Strict protocol. He looked at Kale, then at the other students, scanning the room with his many eyes. "You will follow the methods taught. Any deviation may have consequences." He already had 100 first aid tricks that no textbook could teach, techniques honed on rocky cliffs, in deserts, and under alien suns where one mistake could cost a life. The first practical session began in the lab. Mannequins lined the tables, and various tools glimmered under bright lights. The instructor demonstrated how to apply a nanogel dressing and immobilize a fractured limb using precise alien splints. Most of the students copied carefully, their hands moving with mechanical precision. Kale watched silently, analyzing. When it was his turn, he followed the general procedure but added his own adjustments. He placed the dressing slightly differently and adjusted the splint with an angle that felt more natural for human joints. A few students glanced at him with suspicion. "You are doing it wrong," muttered one, a thin, blue-skinned alien with 6 delicate fingers on each hand. "Follow the protocol exactly." Then the simulated emergency alarm sounded. One of the mannequins began flashing red, indicating a critical wound. The students panicked slightly. Some rushed to the nearest tools, others hesitated, reading the protocols in real time. Kale stepped forward immediately. The wound simulation was complicated, a deep laceration and an unusual bleeding pattern designed to challenge the students. While the others searched for the correct machine settings, Kale pressed his hands to the wound, applied direct pressure, and adjusted the mannequin's limb to reduce tension. His movements were deliberate but fast, a combination of instinct and training. The blue-skinned alien gasped. He's stabilizing it manually." "Human," he said slowly, "explain your method." He knew that what worked on a death world often looked primitive to someone who had never faced real danger. "Primitive, perhaps," he said, "but effective." During lunch, Kale sat alone, eating the simple rations he carried. He wasn't shy, he simply knew that the social hierarchy here was complex and it would take time for aliens to respect him. Across the hall, a group of Cyphoran students whispered to each other, watching him carefully. One finally leaned over. "You are unusual," she said in careful comment. "You saved the simulation before the machines even worked. How?" "You have to know which is which." When a Cyphoran student's arm was trapped under a heavy beam, Kale lifted it manually, using leverage and his own body weight. He stabilized the arm with improvised splints using spare lab rods. Another student had simulated internal bleeding. Kale applied targeted pressure and monitored vitals manually, anticipating the need for rapid adjustments. The alien student stared as he worked wide-eyed. "He's doing it all by hand," one whispered. By the end of the simulation, most patients were stabilized, but Kale's group had the highest survival score. Professor Trellick examined the results carefully. "Interesting," he said. "Human, you are effective. Your methods are unconventional, but in this scenario, they outperformed others." "I can show you the basics," he said. "But you have to understand it's not just technique, it's mindset. You have to act before fear freezes you." But raw experience, the kind that comes from surviving harsh worlds, was something no simulator could teach. Humans carried that instinct naturally. Back in the dormitory, Kale prepared for the evening lecture. He reviewed alien anatomy charts and notes, eager to learn. Being a Deathworlder didn't mean he ignored technology. It meant he had a balance, instinct and improvisation paired with knowledge. If he could teach aliens this balance, maybe they'd see humans as more than fragile creatures. Late at night, Kale sat in the quiet dorm, listening to distant alien chatter echoing through the corridors. He thought about the coming days, the challenges, and the skeptics. One thing was certain: tomorrow would bring another test, and he would be ready. Aliens might be stunned by his first aid methods today, but survival demanded consistency, not a single impressive display. And Kale knew that humans, no matter where they came from, had a gift that the galaxy had yet to fully appreciate: the ability to stay calm, think fast, and act decisively when every second counted. With that thought, Kale finally rested, ready for the challenges of the academy, and the astonished eyes of alien students who had only just begun to understand what a human could do. The next morning, the academy's halls were alive with energy. Alien students moved in coordinated streams, their conversations a mixture of curiosity, pride, and subtle rivalry. Kale walked among them, carrying only his standard kit: a few bandages, a med scanner, and a small bag of supplies he had made himself. Nothing fancy, just what he needed to survive and adapt. Today's lesson would be a group exercise. Professor Trellick had divided the students into teams, each responsible for handling a simulated medical disaster. Kale's group included 3 alien students: Lyra, a tall, crystalline-bodied healer from the planet Kryn; Miv, a soft-spoken amphibian with delicate touch and long fingers; and Jorik, a stout, muscular alien who seemed more interested in showing strength than care. The rest of the groups quickly assembled elsewhere, leaving Kale's team slightly apart, the tension between him and his peers already noticeable. Lyra's eyes flicked to Kale as she spoke. "You better not slow us down," she said, her crystalline voice cold. "We have the highest expectations. Humans are unpredictable." "You'll see." The exercise was designed to test teamwork, speed, and problem-solving under stress. Jorik immediately grabbed a med scanner, scanning every patient with precision. "We follow the procedure," he said firmly. "No improvising." Every injury was analyzed, the correct nanogel applied, splints adjusted mechanically. But some patients were difficult. Limbs trapped at odd angles, simulated bleeding that didn't conform to typical protocols, and environmental hazards like falling debris. Kale stepped forward. Without waiting for the scanners to finish, he pressed a mannequin's limb to stop bleeding and stabilized it with a piece of scrap piping from the floor. Another patient had a dislocated shoulder. He manipulated it gently but firmly, adjusting the angle to reduce strain while keeping the joint supported. Lyra's eyes widened. What are you doing?" she whispered to Miv. Miv shook her head. "I don't know, but it's working." "If we wait for machines to be perfect, these patients might die," he said. "Sometimes you have to act first, think later." The students panicked, unsure how to free it without causing further harm. Kale knelt, analyzing the situation. Using leverage, he lifted the beam partially and gently shifted the alien into a safer position, instructing Lyra to support its torso while he created makeshift splints for the arms. Lyra's admiration grew. He's actually good at this," she said quietly. Miv nodded. "It's incredible. He just knows what to do." By the time the exercise ended, his team had stabilized more patients than any other group. When the smoke cleared, Professor Trellick approached, his multiple eyes observing Kale's work. "Human," he said slowly, "explain why you ignored protocol." "Machines and strict methods can wait. If you don't act fast, the patient doesn't get that chance." After the exercise, the alien students gathered in small clusters, whispering. Many were shocked, some impressed, others resentful. Jorik, the strongest of the group, approached Kale. His voice was low, hesitant. "You did well," he admitted grudgingly. "But your methods, they feel reckless. What if they fail?" "I've survived environments where failure isn't an option. You get good at acting fast, adjusting, thinking ahead without waiting for permission or perfect tools. You can't freeze at the sight of injury or chaos. You move, you act, you think later." Many tried to mimic him, some successfully, others clumsily. By the end of the day, the academy had created a stir. Kale's group had outperformed everyone, not just in speed but in adaptability. Alien students who had doubted him now whispered quietly among themselves, curiosity replacing disdain. That evening, Kale returned to the dorms. He carried his small bag, tired but satisfied. He knew that some students would resist his methods, that some would never accept them. But seeds had been planted. Curiosity had replaced skepticism, and for the first time, a few alien students considered that humans might possess skills beyond their understanding. As Kale settled in, he reflected on the day's events. Survival was a balance between knowledge and instinct, between preparation and improvisation. Alien students had knowledge and technology, sometimes brilliant, sometimes precise beyond imagination. But instinct, speed, the ability to act when others froze in hesitation, that was a human strength forged on worlds that demanded it. Kale allowed himself a small smile. The academy would be a challenge, yes, but also an opportunity. Every alien student who watched him today had seen a new possibility. And if he could teach them, even a little, how to combine instinct with technology, the galaxy would learn to respect humans not for strength or size, but for resilience, creativity, and courage. Late at night, Kale sat in the quiet dormitory, listening to distant conversations echoing down the halls. He imagined the coming days, more simulations, more skeptical students, more situations where human improvisation might surprise the galaxy. One thing was certain: he was ready. Wherever chaos appeared, he would act, think fast, and adapt. And the aliens around him would continue to watch, astonished. By the time Kale turned off his small lamp, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Today, he had proven something essential. Humans from Deathworlds were not merely survivors. They were problem solvers, innovators, and sometimes even teachers. And tomorrow promised another test, another chance to show that human methods, though simple, could outshine even the most advanced alien technology when courage, instinct, and quick thinking were required. Kale lay down, closing his eyes, but his mind was already running scenarios for the next day. The academy would not know it yet, but the human had arrived, and he was just getting started. The academy's morning was quiet, almost deceptively calm. The sun of Viola Station bathed the crystalline towers in golden light, and for a moment the students allowed themselves to feel safe. Kale, however, had learned long ago that calm was a luxury often interrupted by chaos. He moved through the hallways, his kit strapped across his back, observing the alien students who were chatting and laughing. Some still whispered about his unorthodox methods from the previous day, curiosity and skepticism blending in their tones. The tranquility shattered without warning. The alarm blared, sharp, urgent, and insistent. A loud voice echoed through the halls. Emergency. Zero-gravity lab incident. Injuries reported. As he entered the lab, the scene unfolded like a nightmare. The lab's gravity fields had fluctuated unexpectedly, causing several students to collide with heavy equipment. One large alien student was pinned under a floating metal beam, while others floated awkwardly, injured and disoriented. Blood, real, simulated for the exercise, covered surfaces, and a cloud of smoke from sparking machinery made visibility difficult. Kale immediately assessed the situation. The automated medical machines blinked erratically, unable to adjust to the rapidly changing positions of the injured. Alien students were panicking, unsure how to stabilize patients without the machines or zero-gravity protocols. Time was critical. Without hesitation, Kale launched into action. He grabbed the nearest floating student, a slender amphibian named Miv, and guided her safely to the floor. Using his knowledge of leverage, he stabilized her limbs and applied quick compressions to control bleeding. Another student, crystalline and tall, had broken ribs and was suspended awkwardly against a wall. Kale adjusted her carefully, supporting her torso manually while instructing others to hold her still. Lyra arrived moments later, moving faster than most students could. "Kale, we can't get the machines to work," she shouted over the alarms. "Then we do it ourselves," Kale shouted back. His voice was calm but commanding, cutting through the panic. "Stabilize her arm, apply pressure here, I'll lift the beam." He saw a few smaller rods and panels floating nearby. Improvising, he wedged them under the beam as levers, using his own body weight to shift it just enough to free the trapped student. The student groaned, weak but conscious, as Kale and Lyra worked together to stabilize limbs and apply pressure. Jorik floated nearby, looking conflicted. He wanted to follow Kale's lead but hesitated, still worried about breaking protocol. We should wait for the gravity stabilizers," he stammered. Kale shook his head sharply. "If we wait, they might not make it. Act now." Kale's hands moved with speed and precision, his experience in real, dangerous environments showing clearly. Pressure points, improvised splints, rapid assessment. He was a blur of motion, making life-or-death decisions in seconds. Other alien students began following his lead. Those who had doubted him the day before now observed closely, mimicking his techniques. Lyra moved carefully under Kale's instructions, and even the usually rigid Miv found herself improvising, using floating panels to secure a patient's leg. As the chaos continued, Kale noticed another problem. One of the lab's experiments, a bioreactive plant, had broken free and was entangling a student's limbs. The machine support couldn't handle this, and panic was rising. Kale quickly grabbed a portable restraining strap from his kit and secured the plant's vines, stabilizing both it and the student. The crowd of alien students watched, their admiration growing. Kale moved through the lab with a rhythm, checking vitals manually when the scanners faltered, supporting bones and joints with whatever materials floated nearby, and communicating clearly with his group to ensure everyone acted in unison. His unorthodox methods, honed from survival on a death world, proved perfectly suited for an environment where conventional tools failed. By the time the alarms finally ceased, most of the injured students had been stabilized. The gravity fields returned to normal, and the lab's machinery began functioning correctly again. Professor Trellick entered, observing the aftermath. His many eyes scanned the room, lingering on Kale. "Human, your methods," he began, but paused, uncertain. "Effective, unorthodox, but undeniably effective. Machines help, knowledge helps, but sometimes it's the mind and hands that matter most. Humans, you're remarkable." He demonstrated how he had used leverage, improvised splints, pressure points, and direct observation to stabilize patients before technology could respond. Professor Trellick listened carefully, asking questions but also noting the effectiveness of Kale's instincts. "This," Trellick said finally, "is a valuable lesson. Not every emergency can be solved with technology alone. Quick thinking, improvisation, and calm action, these are as important as any protocol. You have shown that, human. You may have much to teach your fellow students." The alien students in the room exchanged looks of awe and curiosity, realizing that humans were not fragile or simple as they had assumed. Humans adapted, humans survived, and humans could excel where advanced methods alone might fail. That evening, Kale returned to the dormitories, tired but satisfied. He knew the day had changed perceptions. Alien students who had doubted him now approached him with questions. Some wanted to learn how to act instinctively, others simply observed quietly, trying to understand how a human could remain so calm amidst chaos. Kale unpacked his simple kit and reviewed the day's events. The zero-gravity lab crisis had tested more than skill. It had tested composure, observation, and adaptability. On his homeworld, such challenges were daily life. He had learned to act decisively, without hesitation, relying on hands, mind, and instinct. Here, he had shown that humans could bring something unique to the galaxy: survival skill, courage, and practical ingenuity. A knock at the dorm door interrupted his thoughts. Lyra entered, carrying a few instructional manuals. "I want to understand better," she said softly. "Can you teach me more about how you handled today's injuries?" The day had proven a crucial truth. Humans from Deathworlds had a perspective the galaxy often overlooked. Where others relied solely on advanced technology, humans combined observation, improvisation, and courage. That combination could save lives when all else failed. The academy itself had changed subtly in Kale's presence. Alien students began to question their reliance on machines, to consider the value of instinct and hands-on skill. And though some would remain skeptical, a new respect for humans had begun to form, a respect built not on size, strength, or intelligence alone, but on the capacity to act decisively when survival demanded it. Kale lay down that night with a sense of quiet purpose. Tomorrow would bring more lessons, more challenges, and more opportunities to show that human ingenuity was not a relic of a primitive world, but a force to be reckoned with in any environment. He closed his eyes, confident that his methods, simple, fast, instinctive, would continue to astonish those who had doubted him and inspire those willing to learn. In the galaxy of advanced technology and alien mastery, one small human had already made a difference. Kale knew this was only the beginning. The morning light streamed through the tall windows of the academy, but the air was different now. Alien students moved with a mixture of caution and curiosity. Yesterday's zero-gravity lab incident had left a lasting impression. Whispers of Kale's actions spread quietly through the halls. Humans, they were beginning to realize, were not to be underestimated. Kale himself moved calmly, his kit slung over his shoulder, prepared for another day of lessons, simulations, and observation. Today, however, would not be a typical class. Professor Trellick had announced a special session. Students would learn from the human, the Deathworlder whose improvisation and quick thinking had stabilized multiple patients in the crisis. Many students had mixed feelings, some intrigued, some reluctant, others openly skeptical, but Kale was ready to teach. The session began in a spacious lab filled with mannequins, medkits, and improvised materials. Kale addressed the students, standing in front of the group with quiet confidence. "Today, we practice something most of your protocols don't teach," he said. "Instinct, improvisation, the ability to act when machines or rules aren't enough." "We want to learn," she said. "Show us how you think during emergencies." "Broken bones, internal bleeding, difficult angles," he said. "If you wait for scanners and stabilizers, you might lose precious seconds. Sometimes you must act first." Many had been trained to rely solely on technology, but Kale's methods required observation, understanding of anatomy, and instinctive decision-making. "Notice my hands," Kale explained. "Pressure here, support here, adjust this angle. You don't need a machine for that. You just need to know what matters most at that moment." Kale approached them individually, guiding their hands, showing how a slight change in angle could prevent further injury. Lyra absorbed every motion, mimicking him carefully. Even Jorek, who had once doubted him, practiced with determined focus, slowly gaining confidence. Kale moved on to the next scenario, multiple injured patients with limited equipment. He explained how to prioritize, identifying the most critical cases first. "You can't save everyone at once," he said calmly. "Choose who you can help immediately, stabilize, then move on. Time is a resource just like any tool." Those who had been skeptical started asking questions, adjusting their approach, trying to blend their precise technological methods with Kale's instinctive actions. Miv, usually shy and reserved, impressed everyone by improvising a splint using a combination of floating panels and medkit straps. Kale smiled faintly. "Good. Remember, the environment is your tool. Nothing is useless if you know how to use it. Instinct is trained by practice," he said. "The more you encounter unexpected problems, the better you handle them." Kale observed, correcting minor mistakes, praising successful improvisation, and encouraging further experimentation. Professor Trellick entered the lab, observing silently. He watched Kale guide students, blending instinct, practical skill, and teaching ability. For the first time, he acknowledged quietly that human methods, simple though they seemed, had value far beyond the initial skepticism. A sudden alert interrupted the session. A minor accident in another lab had injured a few students. Without hesitation, Kale led a small team to assist. Using his techniques, he stabilized patients before the automated systems could even arrive. Alien students accompanied him, applying the methods they had learned. Once again, Kale demonstrated how instinct, observation, and improvisation could complement technology, achieving results faster than machines alone. After returning to the main lab, Kale gathered the students. "You've all seen today that tools alone aren't enough," he said. "Observation, hands-on skill, and quick thinking are just as important. Learn to combine instinct with technology. That's the way to save lives when the unexpected happens. It can make the difference between life and death." The atmosphere was energetic, collaborative, and innovative. Some of the students who had been most skeptical approached Kale privately. "I didn't think humans could teach us anything," Jorek admitted. "But today, I see now, your instincts, your hands, they make us better. We've been relying too much on technology alone." Kale walked through the space, observing quietly, satisfied. He had achieved more than teaching techniques. He had shifted perspectives. Alien students were beginning to see humans not as fragile beings from harsh worlds, but as adaptable, intelligent problem solvers capable of innovation in any environment. Professor Trellick approached Kale, his many eyes focused intently. "You have made a significant impact today," he said. "Your students learned more than technique. They learned mindset, adaptability, and decision-making under pressure. Human, your methods may be unconventional, but their value is undeniable. I only want them to understand that instinct and observation are tools, just as important as any machine or protocol. Change, especially in a galaxy reliant on technology and rigid protocol, would not happen overnight. But today had proven that curiosity, willingness to try, and respect for experience could shift perspectives quickly. As night fell over Viola Station, Kale returned to his dorm, tired but fulfilled. The day had been challenging, but the outcome was worth it. Alien students who had doubted him now approached his methods with curiosity and respect. Some even asked to practice further, eager to blend instinct with precision. Kale sat quietly, reviewing his notes and thinking ahead. Tomorrow would bring new simulations, new challenges, and more opportunities to show the value of Deathworlder first aid methods. His approach, calm, adaptable, and practical, was slowly reshaping the way alien students viewed medicine, survival, and human capability. He allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy often overlooked humans, their resilience and ingenuity underestimated. But here, in the heart of an alien academy, Kale was proving that a human's mind and hands could achieve remarkable things, even in environments where the most advanced technology struggled. And as he prepared for sleep, Kale knew that the real impact of his teaching was only beginning. Alien students would continue to experiment, learn, and adapt, carrying forward lessons that combined instinct, courage, and practical skill. In time, humans like Kale would not just be seen as survivors. They would be respected as innovators and teachers, capable of showing the galaxy new ways to solve problems, save lives, and face the unexpected. Kale closed his eyes, ready for the next day, confident that his methods, though simple, would continue to astonish and inspire. The academy had changed, even if subtly, and the human student had proven that instinct, adaptability, and courage could shine as brightly as the most advanced technology in the galaxy. The morning of the final academy simulation arrived with a tension unlike any Kale had felt before. The halls of the Interstellar Medical Academy were quieter than usual, filled with an electric anticipation. Students gathered, instructors moved briskly, and the simulation arena had been transformed into a chaotic disaster zone. Smoke, debris, and floating equipment filled the massive space, creating the illusion of a real-life emergency. This was no ordinary test. It combined multiple injuries, alien diseases, environmental hazards, and unpredictable variables. Each student's skill would be scrutinized, but Kale's challenge was unique. He had to lead a team that combined Deathworlder instincts with alien technology. His fellow students watched closely, many eager to see if his methods could succeed under the most extreme conditions. Kale took a deep breath, adjusting his kit. His team, Lyra, Miv, Jorik, and a few other alien students, stood ready. Their expressions were tense, but confidence had grown over the past days. They had practiced, observed, and learned. Kale knew that this simulation would be the ultimate test of everything he had taught. "Remember," Kale said quietly, addressing his team, "technology is useful, but instincts save lives. Observe, act, and adapt. You don't wait for the perfect tool or the perfect reading. You make do, you move fast, you stay calm, and you keep thinking." Machines immediately attempted to assess the injury, but the shifting weight of debris and irregular limb positions caused errors in the readings. Kale didn't hesitate. He jumped into action, using leverage and improvised tools to lift the beam partially, guiding the alien safely out. Lyra supported the torso, while Miv applied a makeshift splint using floating panels. Jorik helped secure the patient's limbs, combining Kale's instinctive instructions with the technology they carried. Other students were stunned. Machines alone could not have stabilized the patient this quickly. Kale's team had already taken decisive action before any automated system could even respond. Next, a patient appeared with simulated internal injuries and severe bleeding. Kale assessed quickly. "Pressure points first, stabilize vitals," he instructed. Lyra and Miv worked together, following his directions while applying a small med scanner to monitor vitals. Kale moved among them, manually adjusting the patient's position to reduce strain and prevent further injury. The simulation introduced a sudden hazard. A floating chemical container cracked, spilling a dangerous compound near another patient. The machines indicated contamination, but Kale acted instinctively. He grabbed protective panels, creating a barrier, and instructed the student to move the patient using safe angles. The action was precise and fast, minimizing exposure and preventing further harm. Observers watched in awe. Kale's methods, combining rapid observation, improvisation, and hands-on intervention, allowed the team to stabilize each patient efficiently. Alien students who had doubted him before now took careful notes, impressed by the seamless integration of human instinct with technology. A more complex scenario followed. One of the injured aliens had a simulated rare disease causing sudden spasms and irregular vital signs. The machines failed to provide an accurate reading. Cale knelt beside the patient, observing and feeling for subtle changes. He guided the team to administer stabilizing treatments manually while monitoring vital signs and using simple instruments to confirm progress. Jorik looked over Cale's shoulder. "I didn't think you could manage this without full diagnostic support," he admitted, "but you knew exactly what to do." "That's all instinct and practice. Technology is helpful, but your mind and hands are faster in situations like this." Alien students from other teams began to whisper among themselves, astonished at how effective Cale's leadership and methods were. The final challenge approached. A patient simulated to be critically injured, suffering from multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and partial unconsciousness. The automated systems faltered, unable to adapt to the complexity. Cale immediately assessed the patient, prioritizing life-threatening injuries. He applied direct pressure to control bleeding, stabilized limbs using improvised supports, and instructed the team to monitor vitals closely. Lyra whispered, "He's calm even now." "How?" "Move fast, but think clearly." "Human," he said, "your team has demonstrated extraordinary skill. You have combined instinct, improvisation, and practical action with technology in a way no other group has. The simulation's results are unmatched." Even students who had been skeptical days before now acknowledged the human's ability to lead and innovate. The Academy's final review was conducted. Instructors presented scores, observations, and lessons learned. Cale and his team's performance stood out, not for speed alone, nor precision alone, but for the integration of human intuition with alien technology. Every decision, adjustment, and improvisation had been noted. Professor Trellick addressed the students. "Today, you have all seen a new approach to emergency care. Human instinct, observation, and improvisation, when combined with technology, can produce results that are faster, safer, and more effective than relying solely on protocols. Let this be a lesson for all of you. Adaptability is as important as knowledge, courage as valuable as tools." As the ceremony ended, Cale's fellow students approached him. "You've changed how I think about medicine," Lyra said. "I want to continue learning these methods." "Not after today." Cale's teaching had left a lasting impression. Alien students were beginning to blend instinct with technology in ways previously unconsidered. Professor Trellick approached, walking silently beside Cale. "You've done more than complete the academy," he said. "You have reshaped thinking. Humans from harsh worlds, Deathworlders, have skills that even the most advanced students can learn from. You leave a legacy here, human. The academy will not be the same because of you." In the coming years, Cale knew the academy's teachings would carry his methods forward. Alien students would continue to combine instinct with technology, creating healers who were faster, smarter, and more adaptable. Human ingenuity, born from survival on harsh worlds, would leave a mark across the galaxy. Cale returned to the dormitory, tired but satisfied. His journey at the academy was ending, but his influence was only beginning. He had proven that humans could excel in ways others could not imagine, that instinct, courage, and adaptability were as powerful as any machine, and that teaching others could change perceptions across worlds. As night fell over Viola Station, Cale prepared for rest, reflecting on his journey. From a small human student, underestimated by alien peers, he had become a leader, a teacher, and a symbol of human capability. The galaxy might have doubted humans before, but here, in the heart of the Academy, one Deathworlder had shown that humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and courage could inspire and teach in ways no one had predicted. He lay down and closed his eyes, knowing that the lessons learned here would echo far beyond the Academy. Alien students would carry them forward, spreading the understanding that humans were not fragile, primitive, or ordinary. They were survivors, thinkers, innovators, and teachers, capable of remarkable deeds in the face of any challenge. And in the quiet of the night, Cale smiled, ready for whatever the galaxy might challenge him with next. He had proven a vital truth: instinct, skill, and courage could change the minds of entire civilizations. The Academy would remember the human who taught them that, even in a galaxy filled with technology and rigid rules, the resourcefulness of a single human could save lives, inspire others, and leave a legacy that would endure.